On the Tribe Code YouTube and on my YouTube. So we will save them for posterity. But yeah,
Fantastic.
indeed. Welcome to the party. We've got I'm assuming a little bit on light on attendance. But I'll see if I can keep an eye out on chat and see if we catch anybody. You guys got any Thanksgiving plans? I guess is the initial thought. Let's put this over here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
Canadian,
Canadian,
so
so
none of that for me.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cool. Yeah, I'm not Canadian, but I also have way too much shit to do and not not enough time to coordinate with family, so that's about where I'm
Gotta
at.
spend a little time for family, though.
Just a little bit, just enough.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thought. Okay, cool.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks. I host a podcast called Rate Limited, and
Yeah, with
we
Ray,
meet
right?
every 2 weeks.
Mm.
And yeah, we recorded the last episode right before 5.1 dropped, and then all of a sudden it's 5.1, 5.1 Max Gemini 3.
Good timing,
It's
right?
just like 2 weeks of insane releases.
Yeah, it absolutely has been. Yeah, I took some notes on like what kind of has been going down a little bit with some associated links, but yeah, it's been a gnarly couple of weeks. I'm trying to keep up.
Insane, truly.
Yeah, I guess like big news on the week is 4.5 Opus, and on the hot on the heels of Gemini 3.5, and then
But just three.
or yeah, just three, hard to keep track. And then yeah, AI engineer code this week too, in which some of the like littler stuff that folks might have missed about some new like Claude code behavior that I thought was kind of interesting is my highlight so far, but I haven't even had time to like go through much of that event. And then yeah, let me see, make sure. Okay, so I've got that ready to go, and then I've got a repo prompt around somewhere.
Oh, you got all the CLIs good. Yeah,
Indeed,
set up.
all of them.
Do you have a pro plan for ChatGPT? We don't have to use it, but it's
I don't have like the
something-
max one, or I don't have the big expensive one. I just have like the normal one.
That's fine. Yeah, plus. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, we're in good shape. So my thought being, yeah, there's like a couple of things. Let me take a look here. One of the things I did want to point out is that, as is tradition, I have tried to find the cheapest place to get 4.5. I think AMP might be the move because you can just enable it with Try Opus. And then, I wish I had my searcher here, but I don't think I do.
I think on Cursor for the week it's half price.
Yeah, something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah. Because AMP is just charging you the cost. You're not getting a deal on that.
Yeah, I know in free, or yeah, so they said Opus 4.5 is the primary model for their smart mode, which is, I think, something that burns credits pretty quick, if I remember right, but it's been a minute. Let's see. Obviously, you can get them from Claude Code, which has a couple of interesting, I think, developed. Yeah, a couple of interesting. Did any of you guys catch any of this stuff? This is what I pulled off of their little blog here, which I thought the programmatic tool calling thing and the tool search were relatively interesting, probably up your alley, Professor, because they were all context oriented, which it just occurred to me we should probably say hi. We have our friend from Repo Prompts here, which is Eric Preventer, and yeah, feel free to take an intro. What's your thing? What do you do? Why are you attending this local?
Yeah. So Repo Prompts an app I've been building for the last over a year now, like a year and a half almost, I think, at this point. And it started off beta. It was free for people to try, and it found quite an audience. A lot of folks started using it. And I started charging for it back in March, and it's been doing well enough that I'm able to make a living out of it now. So that's really cool. And yeah, it's a tool focused on trying to make the most out of all these different services and tools that you might sign up for, like all the CLIs or ChatGPT, whatever may have you, even AI Studio for free. So like it was initially very clipboard oriented, and then I worked on a lot of API features, and now it's with the MCP. It's got a lot of tools for integrations with the different CLIs. So it's designed to help you build prompts in a way that is just much more effective at getting better results out of these models, like most models these days. And it's good for like planning especially, but just getting using it as like an Oracle too is quite cool with the MCP. So you can just have like Claude Code do work in and be like, hey, like ask the chat, figure something out, do a review here, and you can have like an ongoing conversation with another model. So it's like a tool that agents can use and people can use, and I'm trying to really lean into that so that it's a toolbox for both you and the agent. Yeah.
It seems good. Yeah, that was my understanding too. Is that it's pretty. It's like a solid context management tool. It's something that there's something that has decided to play audio on my computer. I have to figure out what that is and turn it off. Sorry about that, folks. We've got. Just give me like a little bit here to figure that out. Yeah, let's see, do you have like a favorite workflow for repo prompt that you want to beat down to?
Yeah, sure.
Show us? Yeah,
I mean, there's two that are really interesting. Do you want me to take over? Do you want to do it? You have it on your machine there?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and go for it, and then I will get this thing figured out. Thank you. Buy me a little bit of time. Appreciate it.
Okay, hold on. Let me just open this up here.
Good.
Okay, let me see. Oh, geez. I won't be able to do it because I did not access screen permissions to Discord, so I have to reboot the app to do that. Okay, I'm going to have to rejoin. 1 second.
Yeah, you're good. No worries. I guess brief break a little bit here, as I have to hunt down whatever tab this is that's doing this. Just a second here. And it's very annoying, so I can tell which of my 800 browsers it is that has this. Control all this data. No. What's that? Control all this data. Been cool updates. Yeah, true, actually. I do want to show off our little new website.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the co-founder of Morning Brew and the managing partner of 10X, your host for the Leadership Track Session
If I were to say,
Alex Lieberman.
Then that would get me to the right place. I think
Keep it going.
be on the wrong route.
Let's get a quick read of the room. If you are coming from right here in the Big Apple, from New York, make some noise. Okay. Now, I have to say it, I assume this is the biggest group, San Francisco? Wow, that is surprising. Austin? Okay, we got Austin. Who thinks they came from the furthest place and is in the room today? Where? Ecuador. Can anyone beat Ecuador? New Zealand?
I literally know.
I don't think anyone's going to beat New Zealand. There we go. Well, first of all, I am so excited to welcome you all to the AI Engineer Code Summit 2025. I'm Alex Lieberman, co-founder of Morning Brew and your MC for the day. Now, you may be wondering, why is a newsletter guy hosting an AI Engineer conference? It's a great question. Well, after I left my role at Morning Brew, I asked myself one simple question, and it was, what space do I want to spend my time in for the next 20 years where I can build something consequential and spend my time with some of the smartest people I've ever met?
throw the
And
invite back up
the
there.
answer became obvious. I
We're
wanted
doubling
to
up
be
on
as
AI.
close
True,
to the
we are.
frontier of
On
AI
this
as
list.
humanly possible.
Oh, right.
Which is why I
I'm back
created
in.
10x.co.
There we go. We
You
got
figure out
there.
what's going on there?
Transformation firm helping
No,
Okay.
mid-market and
unfortunately.
enterprise companies
So feel
learn
free
how
to
to use
take
AI within their business.
take us
And I
for a
spend
spin through repo
basically
prompt
all
while I
my
hunt
time
this thing
now
down.
with
Okay.
AI engineers like
Oh my God,
yourself,
another
the
system?
non-technical person in the business
Okay, no, we're
who
good.
have it any other way.
Okay, I'll just.
Amazing.
So, as you know, this year has been a banner year
Okay,
for the
here
industry.
we go.
And I would think of
All right,
today
can you
as
see
an
the app I got
on
open?
where we've
Yeah,
been,
there we
as well as a
go.
tactical
Okay.
view of where we are headed.
Okay, so I got a little
both
chunk
small
here.
and large, old and new.
So one of my favorite things to do with this, I mean, the first thing that I really think about when I'm starting to work with just a prompt, a tool like a task that I'm thinking about, is just finding out like what context is relevant to it. So if I'm thinking like I'm looking to overhaul the input system
Love it.
and
Keep it
add
going,
support for
the
touch
platinum
input
sponsor for
events.
the day. And then one more round of applause.
Okay, so I can just be vague
Gold
in
and
that
silver
way.
sponsors
And,
who
I just start up a task like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to spin up a headless agent with one of the agents I have set up.
Are you guys ready to do the
And so
dance?
right now, Claude Haiku is going around
Kick things off,
and it's finding all the input related files. He's reading them in like a blitz. And then selecting them all. So you can see it work in real time. It's picking out the files that are most relevant to this task. And it's got a token budget as well. So I optimize this around 60K tokens so that all your files and everything related to the prompt are in that limit. So Haiku just completed its work here. And from here, I basically, have a prompt that goes through what the task is in an unopinionated way. It talks about the architecture of like all of the pieces that we look through. So it's giving you an enhanced prompt with like code-based awareness. It picks out like what's been selected. There's also notes about code maps here. So basically, code maps are a tool that I added to a repo prompt, and is not to be confused with code maps that Windsurf does. Because these code maps are like API descriptors, so I can show you a little bit about what they look like. So here's an example. Can you see this, by the way? Is this clear? It's a popover. I don't know if that's visible in the stream.
Yeah, I've got you
Best out of
my
Claude.
screen, yeah.
And I'm going to do that using a product that you
But
hopefully
yeah,
have all
I can
heard of
see it.
before.
Anyway.
It's an agentic coding
Okay,
product.
so
We love it a lot.
yeah, so we've got so it's class definitions, properties, and this kind of stuff. So it pulls them out from the files. So this is really useful to get like really token efficient representations of different files. And when I start selecting some of these files, they will automatically be pulled in, but the agent can just liberally like pull those in as well as needed. And so you see it's like happy, it's within the budget, perfect. It did that. So we got all of this context. We have a prompt now that's around 12K tokens. So I can go ahead here and send to chat, and I can set it to plan mode. And there's different ways of doing this. So I often go over to GPT-5, and I could use that in the app directly. So what is cool here, by the way, is in this chat that I've got like, in Claude Sonnet, so you've got like API models, but these are Claude Code, these are Codex CLI models, and I've got like Gemini CLI models too. So basically I'm able to like use these CLIs as like API providers to like chat with them. So I've got this chat app that just lets you connect. So I'll show you here. Got these three providers that are set up. So I've got like, if you pay for any of the models on those services, you can just use them directly through this. And what this is doing is it's basically sending all of these files as they're set up with the prompt that I set here. We're able to generate a plan. And so Sonnet now is like thinking around the plan for doing this. I usually use GPT-5 Pro for these kinds of plans, but in this case, it's really not like a huge deal to go through. And yeah, we just wait for it to work. And I find this is like a great way to start your tasks, because then you get like a bird's eye view of the code base that a model can go through. And from there, it's able to kind of just see everything at once with the whole context, as opposed to what agents will do, which is just like read small parts of your files. And that's like the benefit of having the agent kind of do that work to find the small parts of files. before you do this work, and then kind of build the prompt with that so that you can get your model to work. Okay, so it completed there. So you see this kind of plan that you get here. Let me just stretch this out. The formatting on this table sucks. Anyway, but yeah. So it's basically going through like, here's all the work that we're gonna do. Like this is the implementation that we're gonna go through. So I wrote a lot of stuff. The planning prompt is set up to kind of focus on architecture, pseudocode, and so it's giving us different choices, which Sonnet seems to be deep fried into doing choices, which is funny. Recommended approach. And yeah, like GPT-5 will be. Sorry, what was your question there? I don't want to interrupt you. Oh, just for demoing this, just because you can pick Opus as well, just to keep for showing the not being taking too long, to run through the demo. But yeah, I mean that's it. Like you go through this plan, and I can go back and forth. And what's really nice with this is like I can pull files in and out, and then your prompt kind of updates dynamically, so I can just keep chatting. And you're not like most tools where you send your files to a chat, they're going to put them all in the front, and then you go for a while, and if you're making edits and doing things, it's gonna fill up the chat, and you're gonna hit your limit really quick. Whereas this like optimizes the context, with each message. So if you pull files in and out, you can quickly kind of do edits and do that kind of work. So I'll just show you quickly if I just set it to edit mode with Sonnet, and let's do step 1 as recommended. So this is, yeah. Mhm. Exactly. And what is really cool with this too is that I can go ahead and I can open up a Claude Code window, which you won't be able to see on screen. But I can open up a terminal. And actually, this project is set up for my debug instance. So let me just open that one up, because that's just it's not going to work actually for this. Let me just open up Codex then. I'll just open up Codex on this window, and hopefully that'll work. So if I open up Codex, and I set the model to, oh geez, that's not what I want to do at all. One second here.
Yeah, you're good.
Open this up.
Yeah, so we've got. So now what you're doing over there is opening the CLI agent and tweaking some of those models.
Exactly. So I've got Codex. I'm going to change the window for this here. Okay, so it did the whole phase 1 there.
Nice. Cool.
And I can review these changes. And so these are all the files that were created. I can review them all here, accept them all in one shot if I want. And so all that work was done in one shot, one response, all the files created. And great, so I can accept those. And then if I look at, so if I can say like, okay, so I'm gonna open up this on the CLI, and I can be like, okay, read the chat log. We have open, and then proceed with step 2 following the plan using the chat to implement. So I've got a CLI running on the side with Codex in it, and Codex can read the chat that I have open here, and it's able to understand the selection, read the files to get some awareness, and then it can follow up with the plan and continue.
The mechanism for that is like the MCP connection there, right?
Exactly. So the MCP, I can set that up here. So basically, it basically exposes to agents everything that the app has available to it. And you can see there's open connections here. So you can see what Codex is doing. So it's reading files. And you see Codex is connected there. And these are your proofs. This is actually a new menu I just released today. So you can see what's going on. And Oh, I can see that Codex decided to do the edits itself.
Yeah, do you want to swap to
Use
the
the
Codex
chat
one?
for the edits.
Yeah,
So
are you in a can we see the Codex? I'm quite curious what Codex looks like when it's in its window looking at repo prompts to see.
yes. So let me see if I can change how I'm sharing my screen to
Yeah,
just do
if you
screen
can, great.
sharing.
Like, yeah, you don't need to. If it's a huge lift, don't worry about it. I'm mostly curious about the.
Here we go. So I've got. Can you see this all right?
Yeah,
Oh jeez. Let me move this over. Oh jeez.
you're good.
Right click this desktop. There we go.
I
Okay.
bet
Oh my
this
God.
the way
It's
that this
too many.
operating system manages Windows has been the death of me.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. Cool.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what the heck it decided. Okay. Okay. Let's do. This is why I prefer using Claude for this sort because Codex is strange.
Sure, yeah, it'll just run off and
But
decide it's going to do some stuff. That's my experience with it.
okay. Yeah. Okay, Codex is deep fried. It's just not listening to anything I'm saying. So the way that I usually do this, actually, so the way that you could go, so I'm gonna just reset this stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and show you like the full end-to-end like way to do this if I wanted to get this done. But to do that, I'm just going to switch over because I'm going to just quickly switch which app I have open because I have a custom. I use that folder for debugging, and so I got to use my debug version of the app to connect with Claude to it. Actually, you know what? I just realized I could do it with Claude Desktop, which is actually awesome because it works really well. MCP. They all support MCP. It's really nice. I'm going to close this up and reopen with. Let's just reopen this and screen share. Okay, let's do that. So I got that open. This desktop. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to set this to Sonnet just for brevity's sake. Connect to repo prompts. Perfect. Debug server is offline. That's just fine. All right, now, okay. So I've got this prompt. We're starting over from this. I've got this prompt, and I have this MCP pair mode. So I set this to MCP pair mode. And what this will do is it compresses my prompt down. So now it's only 6K tokens because it only includes those file APIs. And then I pass this over and it comes with a prompt to explain to the model, this is how you do this work. So it's thinking through what it needs to do. Okay. Yes. Okay. And then hopefully it should just work all right.
I believe.
Okay, it's going.
We got a new chat. Okay.
There we go. It understands. It understands. There we go. Listing models. Claude is a lot easier to prompt. Codex is very strange and stubborn. It doesn't like to deviate from its hard-coded and deep-fried programming. All right, there we go.
Yeah, they were just.
So it's understanding.
They were just mentioning that they have integrated the Claude.ai/code into the desktop app, but then when I just tested it on their latest update, it just directs you to the.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, do you have it? Maybe. Yeah, I saw the little code.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh.
You might need a max plan to do it.
Maybe.
But this works fine. So the funny thing is that basically using a repo prompt with the normal Claude desktop is pretty similar to Claude code because it's able to read its files, do the edits, call everything. All right.
Yeah, because like if I wanted to do something like a complex edit, at least like if I wanted to and I didn't use the MCP pairing mode, it seems like I could just like fire the whole thing from in repo prompt, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I could just do all my edits directly in repo prompt, or I can actually go. Yeah, or I can just say like, hey, let's do this work, and Claude Desktop or whatever client you have will just use the tools to read files, search around, and do edits, because it's basically a full agent toolbox. I can give it to like any client. And to be honest, I find the tools that I have in here are better than a lot of what the labs are shipping as tools. Like the read file can seek through files. It has clear visibility into like, here, let me show you what it shows. So you can see like lines like this is the lines we're reading. So this one read the full file, but like you can read like, from the end or middle, and it shows you like this is content of that file. Okay, so now Claude understands what it needs to do. Thankfully, finally understands the work. And it should get to work using the plan we set up. Okay, allow. Okay, still searching. Thank you. So it's doing some search. I've got like a really good search tool in here. And mhm. Yeah, exactly. So and it works across routes too. So I can have like multiple repos open, and you can like grep across all of them at the same time. It's not grep. It's like it's a custom implementation. Um, okay, finally, it's ready to use the chat. Okay, so this is what it's like. Now it's using 5 high, which I should have set to maybe 5 low for this purpose, but it should be fine for now. So it's running the chat. It will start with a plan. So that's the goal, is that you want the whole setup to start with a plan. It sees all of the files that we've got selected, and from there, great, it's got its plan. And then it can review the chat provided clear plan, and it just like on Rails. So you do this workflow. Each side kind of checks the work of the other, and it's just like a really good way to kind of work on Rails. And I'm actually going to work on a workflow that's similar in this vein, where basically the agent will do the edits itself, but use this as a way to kind of plan, verify, and follow up on its work. And I just find this really cool, seeing like it just using the chat on my behalf, like, and Claude is just really good at prompting this stuff, and so Opus is even better. But like you can see, like this is the work that needs to happen, so it's very clear. It's prompting it better than I would, and it's able to get that work done. So it can do all of the edits like I showed you, and it could follow through. So that's kind of the main gist of this one workflow. This I find really nice, because you kind of get the best of these both models. But what's nice as well is, like, if I had this set to like plan, I can copy this out and open up ChatGPT, which I do quite a lot. So if I just put this here, let's open that up. So I can open up GPT-5 Pro, which I do frequently. Delete that, and then I just had that in there. This is like a really great way to kind of just get the best, most intelligent model to think about your plans. And I'm actually going to work. And you can think about like what kind of deep like research it can do. Like it's just more exhaustive than any of the models. But 5.1 on its own is still quite good. Okay, so 5 completed the first task. This is what it's like. And what it's doing now is this thing called delegate edits. And basically, the thing that's really nice about delegate edits is that, so I've observed that a lot of models that are in the frontier category, except for Claude models, are terrible at file edits. They are very sloppy, but they are good at describing what needs to change. And so what I do is I use, oh no, did I say Gemini to do these edits? That's insane. Why would I do that? Oh no. Oh no. No, I'm gonna just, okay, well, hopefully it doesn't take 3 years to finish, but but I mean, you can actually stop this and restart it, but like, let me just okay, I'm just gonna do that because this is really slow. Oh, wait, I don't know what the heck it did there. Did it actually complete the edits? No, it did. It did. Oh man, very sloppy, very sloppy. Oh, what the heck was that? Jesus. No, no, no. Yes. Oh, geez. And then it worked. So then it did an error, which sucks. That's the worst kind of error, because it just worked but didn't work well. Anyway, yeah. So don't use Gemini for edits, especially not 2.5, because 2.5 is a terrible model for edits. In agentic context, it's actually very good at edits if you use this XML workflow. So I was showing actually like one workflow, which is to kind of do this. But I can go ahead and actually set this to like XML Pro Edit. And what's cool with that is that I can go and I'll just use GPT-5 thinking for this, because it won't take as long. And that edit style that you saw like here or like in here, like this whole thing, this is like an XML edit that the chat produces. And what's cool with, if you want like GPT-5 Pro to kind of edit code for you, it can go ahead and using this format, you can just paste it back in and go through the flow that way. So it can do the whole task in one shot if you wanted to, which is quite nice. So like really, I'm showing you a lot of things. There's a lot of different workflows here. But the key thing is really trying to go in steps. So like, I always start with the context builder to kind of figure out what's needed to be worked on. You can also, if you're a pro in your code base, you can just pick things out yourself. But the context builder is really good at hitting a target. Like if you're running codecs for this, which is I usually set it to codecs max medium. It will run through this work and then hit a target like a bullseye. In a huge code base, it's really impressive to see it go like hit the target exactly. And then from there, like you get your prompts that you can plan with, and you can just pass those implementation plans back over to whatever agent you want. So I can just take a plan that I have. Oh, geez. Take a plan that I have, and let me just open this here. This desktop. So I was doing some stuff here. Let me just open up Cloud. I'll just reopen the task I was working on. So like if I do resume, yeah, I think this one, if I open up the top, I'm not sure. Yeah, so see, I had worked on a plan with GPT-5, and once I had it done, I just pasted it for Opus to work. And then you can see like Opus just took this whole detailed plan. It's just like a super detailed, everything needs to be done. It researches your code base with the MCP. It doesn't need to use the MCP, but I find the edits tool is just really reliable. It could do multi-edits. It's very good with it. And then boom, it's just done and did all of its work, and you don't have to think about it. There's a tool as well, which is nice, that I use frequently. It's called diff follow-up. So if once it's done some work, it'll pick out like, here are all the files that were edited on this branch. And basically it can include just your prompt and the diff. And I could paste that into GPT-5 to do a review afterwards if I want. There's also like a review mode in the chat if I want to do the same thing. And I find this review mode is nice because you get like, again, the benefit of the full file context and the full diff context to be able to get through the whole review, which a lot of agent reviews will kind of skim through things and skip a lot of details. So you get like really good reviews. And of course, like as I'm kind of prompting in the CLI, I could be like, hey, like use the chat for review, and it can just go ahead and do exactly that. So yeah, I mean that's it. So that's the kind of workflow tour of the app. Anything you guys wanted to talk about or dive into deeper, or I can talk about just prompt engineering in general if you guys want. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least for me, like my repo prompt usage is like, okay, like there are maybe like
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4 kind of primary workflow loops that I can get in, where if I'm in that loop, repo prompt is really, really helpful, and doing it without repo prompt is pretty painful. So yeah, my thought would be is like, for when you reach for repo prompt, what are those like situations, and then which loop are you doing in repo prompt to get through
Yeah,
it?
so for me, the big thing is like, I mean, all the big labs now, they're all kind of pushing through planning workflows and getting through that kind of thing. But the thing that I find problematic with them is that they kind of combine the idea of a plan with the discovery part. And that's kind of the thing that's not ideal, because for me, a good planning system won't have to think about spending its context budget of its window on the actual discovery of what's relevant. So like if you run a plan mode, you're like, if you're running the sonnets plan mode or a cursors plan mode, the model's going around, grepping around, figuring out what's relevant. And then it's kind of iterating with you on what the plan is, but at no point has it taken a clean context window and really thought through everything. So to your point, like, what do I reach for? Well, like if I have something complicated I need to figure out and I want like a good way to go about it, like doing this discovery work and then using a GPT model to plan is like the best thing you can really do, because you get like the cleanest context window full of only what matters, curated by an agent. And then you get a detailed exhaustive plan like the one I showed you here. where like it's just extremely like it cooks the entire problem for you, like the design, what files need to be changed, considerations of backwards compatibility if you need, like these are all the parts. And so I reach for it for this plan. Like this is the thing that I think is most relevant to get, because it just you get better results kind of almost every time if you do this. Just because you're gonna get cleaner code. If you're just starting your task and you're like, hey, like I'm gonna open Claude, and you're like, here's my thing, let's do the thing. Um, Whether you use plan mode or not, like you're gonna get probably middling results. Like you're gonna get probably pretty good results at this point with Opus. But like depending on the task complexity, you might need to iterate with it quite a bit. You might not have thought of every detail. Um, so at the beginning of a task, I find it super helpful for that, especially if it's the one that's of moderate or high complexity. And then at the end of a task, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm like starting to see it where it's like, okay, for when if I have a thing I want to do in a big complex code base, I can start with context builder, and then I can give the instructions to that of like, hey, here's what I want to do. I want you to find everything that's going to be relevant, and then that's going to give me that like selection of files that are selected out of that. And then does that auto revise the prompt there, or is that like a loop you say?
It does also do that. Yeah, this is auto revise. So whether I want to just use this to enhance my prompt or use it to build context and make a bigger prompt, it's useful either way, because you see this prompt, like whether I include the files or not, it tells it exactly where to look. These are the things that are relevant for this task. And I didn't need to spend any of my token budget grepping around. Like it just sees them. So I can just give this and copy this straight to Claude and be like, yeah, here's the task, get to work. Or, like if it's really complicated, I go to a planning step separately. And I can do that either in the chat, doing send a chat, or using the clipboard and pasting it out, which I do quite a bit for 5 Pro.
I think what I've used it for previously was I put some instructions in that top bar, I flipped over to the context builder, and then I gave it like a secondary instruction of like, okay, revise these instructions to make them better by finding the thing I was looking for. And then
so there's this these different prompt modes. So the rewrite one is the default, but you can set it to augment if you want it to preserve whatever you wrote, and then just add this extra stuff. Or you can just do preserve and it won't touch the prompt at all. So depending on what part of it you like, I find this is super helpful though. Just like this is like a prompt enhancer that like just really gives you awareness of the code base, because your agent's really good at finding that information. And then kind of populating your prompt. And like different models are better at this than others. I find Codex is very good at it because it's the most robotic and fact oriented, so it will be extremely factual. Though its formatting sucks compared to Claude models, and it just looks a lot uglier than this. But yeah, there's your task. It's exactly what I said. Like, here's the task. I'm looking to do this, but it's clearer. It talks about in detail like what should we think about, and then the architecture. And I find just clarifying your task this way super helpful. But yeah, the plans are good, and then the reviews can get really good too. So when I'm at the end of a task, I'm like, I've gone through. I don't know if I did it in this one. I don't think I did. But what I'll often do is I'll be like, hey, like, can you use the chat to review this task? So I'm going to set this to Reaper prompt, which is my actual, like, yeah, and be like, hey, can you chat for a second opinion?
That was the other thing that I found useful for it, of the like, before it was kind of integrated in other ways. Generally, the like, okay, you're working with a dumb model, you got an MCP server that's got a good context and a smart model in it, so you can just kind of inform the model, hey, there's a tool you can use, and then like that can inform you if you get confused, kind of thing. Those are kind of the two ways that made sense to me, essentially, of use cases.
So it goes ahead and uses the GPT model I have set up, and just kind of gets a second opinion. And what I really like is just that they can go back and forth with each other, and you can kind of watch them work. I find that super helpful.
I don't think I made it all the way to that like pair programming kind of flow, but
that's fine. Honestly, The pair programming was most useful. Well, I find it's still very useful for one reason, and that is that it basically, if I have like a task that is like super long, like where it's like there's like 18 steps to this plan, and there's just no way Claude's context window can hold it, like the whole thing, and I'm gonna have to compact many times. The pair programming workflow is really good because the model in the chat has this very optimized context, and it can go for a long time before you get anywhere near your token limits on the chat. So it can go through the implementation and keep going, and you're gonna able to get a lot more mileage out of your Claude's context window. So for that, it's very useful. But otherwise, like just using it as an oracle to kind of get a review, second opinion, keep following along, like double check its work. I find it's really nice for that. But then, yeah, the biggest thing right now is really just starting your tasks, planning that out, and kind of getting that sorted out. Like for me, that's like the number one thing. And I am, like since I've got like this MCP, like the way the context builder works, like it's very crazy that like I'm able to launch a CLI, it connects to the app and then does work and then updates the app. Like for me, that's like just really cool that's possible. And just from that, like there's a lot of ways I can integrate more automation using these CLIs to kind of use them with your subscriptions, which I find is really cool.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Oh, cool. I wanted to ask a little bit more about like how do you go about getting people on ramped to use this tool? Because it's obviously it's obviously very powerful, but seems complicated.
It is complicated.
Like I follow a similar process within Cloud Code, but I feel like learning how to do this is like I would have to learn how you do it, which is like a master level skill.
Yeah. So like listen, I do get it. The context builder itself though is pretty straightforward. Like you just type this is my thing and then that's kind of it. But obviously, like yes, like the onboarding is tricky. I make a lot of YouTube videos, those do help some people. But like like the key thing is that like I get a lot of users who come in and they're like, okay, this is overwhelming, maybe they'll ask me questions, maybe they'll figure it out on their own. But then once they kind of get through that initial friction, things do start to make sense and they do see the results are just really good. And so then like a lot of it does spread word of mouth. Like you'll have someone who's like really passionate about it, he'll tell someone else about it, and then it kind of spreads that way. Like at the end of the day, like, like the workflows do work. They're complicated because like a part of it is like, I'm still figuring out how to best present this information, but it's very tricky to kind of just figure all of what are the best practices for context, kind of building tools that are fairly intuitive to kind of organize them, because there's a lot of tools in there to kind of manage what you can do with the prompt, and then kind of making them available to people. Someone asked in the chat like a CLI only variant. I'm sorry, what did you have to say on that? I'll just get the chat after.
I'm kind of curious about what you're saying with like it doesn't use any additional context or tokens to be able to provide these mappings. So you're doing these mappings with like a GLM4 or something like that in the background, or
no? You mean the code maps? The code maps are done offline using a mix of tree sitter and some custom parsing tooling. So it's all done locally offline. Yeah.
Nice. No non-deterministic flows at all. It's just actually
just code engineering. Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing, well, a big benefit of that is that so every time you edit a file, it automatically regenerates everything. So
yeah, it's a lot higher reliability than trying to wait for an LLM to figure it out.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was mostly gonna. Yeah, you're good on the CLI. Yeah, there's a couple of CLI tools that I'm familiar with, and originally before I kind of dug in on repo prompts, the ones that I used were RepoMix or in Code to Prompt. Basically, they do the same thing. And then yeah, so like, are you familiar with the kind of the CLI tool landscape?
Yes. So I do know about them, but they don't do the same thing. They do part of it. Like like in that example here shared, it's like find me all the files that fit this search description. And yes, like it will do that and package you a giant prompt. But it's a lot less. It's a lot more of a hammer and less of a scalpel. Like if I'm using the context builder, it's like it can slice through files. It can go ahead and pick subsets of files. It can pick code maps. It could do all these things and build a prompt from that. And it's stateful as well. Like the CLI tools often are stateless. So you have a command, here's the result, and that's it. Whereas this is stateful. So like I can start work on it. I can iterate in the UI as well. I can watch what's happening. LLMs can use it. And I can have different LLMs connected to the same app as well. So there's a lot of possibility around just automation there that is just different than what the CLI tools do. So like a big issue with just CLI is it is really hard to make stateful CLIs. Yeah. Can you? So on that question, you're saying you can precisely pinpoint content. Okay. Can you pick subsets of files? I don't think you can pick subsets of files. But even if you can, like getting all that sorted out. In an MD, the MD file is stateful. Listen, if RepoMix is doing all of the work that you need out of it, that's great. I built this tool because, first of all, like I wanted something, visual to start.
Right. Yeah.
But also, like I've been just iterating on what I think is needed. And the MCP side does quite a lot as well in terms of making these tools accessible to models as well.
Yeah, I think it's.
But yeah,
and at least the way that I see it, because like I'm super happy with my workflows in CLI tools, and then I'm like looking at repo prompt for things that like gaps that would fill essentially in my workflow, and I can get the sense that there are some there, but for me it's like a matter of finding which ones actually fit into my loops that I use, and then
of course.
And then like my at least for me, like the way I'm seeing repo prompt in the toolkit is partially it's a sort of secondary GUI application where I can still be doing coding. So it's like a different view to look at this information. And then the other sort of aspect of it for me, or like the value prop for me, is like it's kind of what you were getting at, where it's like, okay, I know this person uses this thing to ship code, and they're building it so that the workflows that are like making sense to them are the ones that are kind of apparent in the application. Which I think is like essentially sort of the that's sort of how I've seen it. Is like, okay, I know our general game plan is usually is presumably fairly similar, right? It's build context, it's make a plan, execute the plan, verify the plan, then loop it again. And it's like knowing that if Eric is continuing to build this tool and find it useful, then, and I know we're both doing the same thing, then for me it would be a matter of like, okay, let me look for kind of these entry points and see how it feels in that section.
Yeah. So like, I mean, the thing about like these workflows, a lot of them is that like they're kind of combining prompts with the tools to kind of create sub agents in a way with these headless tools to kind of do the work that is like repeatable, and like context gathering is one of those things. And it does take like careful iteration on that setup to get the model to work most effectively to kind of organize your context for you. The big thing is that like I just find currently right now like the state of the art way to get a lot out of these models is focusing on getting the most detailed prompt that fits within the token limit of GPT-5 Pro into its context window, and then generating plans from that. And you can multitask, like you can set up one plan, you can open up a new tab and kind of work on a second one on the side. So let's see, you want to add voice? Yeah, I currently use Paraspeech, but there's different ways to do that.
Yeah, so currently what I've got here on the screen is one of Karpathy's vibe-coded weekend projects, which is called LLM Council.
Okay, great.
It's a little like Python thing, and what it does is like count. What it does is calls multiple LLMs and kind of makes them fight over stuff, so you can kind of get like all four of the models like arguing with each other and stuff.
Right on.
So my thought being is like, okay, I want to
just go straight there, run discovery. Yeah, let's just do that.
So then what
you can scroll down just to see what it's doing.
Yeah,
just scroll down a little bit because you got the window a little smaller. There you can see that Codex is doing work.
Yeah, so that could
Yeah.
be a useful view for me. One of the things that I've been, thinking about is like, okay, I'm using all these tools to do this stuff, and there are some things that the tool is doing that the designer of the tool has chosen to show me, but there are other things it's doing that they have chosen not to show me. And so, but sometimes I might need to see that thing that they've chosen not to show me. So for me, like being able, especially because all these tools are starting to kind of connect to each other because they're being used for the same stuff. Little readouts like this of like, okay, there's another tool in the mix here, and this is what it's doing, and because you're using multiple at once, then here's like the thing you would probably need to know about what's happening, essentially.
Yeah.
So like having
So
different views available is one of the kind of things for me at
yeah.
least.
So one thing that I find very useful, so there you see it's like
Hmm.
thinking through, the stuff, is that when I'm working on, my projects, sometimes I'll spin up multiple tasks because you're just waiting around for this. So if you hit Command T, in the app, you can just, do you have that set? I don't know if there you go. Yeah, so you can spin up a separate tab that does its own work.
Oh, wow.
And you can have a different parallel discovery task running at the same time. There you go.
All right, all right.
Yeah,
So we
perfect.
got, yes, okay,
And then
cool.
you can go back to the other one and see how it's working. And then there you go. So that one's
Got
finishing
it.
up, and the other one is still working.
Interesting. I have a
Yeah.
set
So
of I have a set of 11 linear tickets, I think, that I would want to throw this at
yeah.
in rapid succession.
And I'm actually going to set up an MCP so that like the agent can kind of automate the flow of like spinning up a tab, running the context builder, and pre-populating these prompts for you, so that when you're ready, you can kind of preview them after. So yeah, so you can just kind of stay in the CLI as it works through with the app. Yeah,
Okay,
there you
yeah.
go.
So now we've got
Finish the task. There you go.
architecture. So what that's doing is it explored, it found these files, sort of describing how it's working. Okay, so then if I switch it over to like plan mode, okay, and then I say
Yeah.
additional context, right? And I would go, okay,
Well, hold
now.
on. Okay, so what do you want to do from here? To tell me
I want to
before
say
you do that.
I'm going to assume that this context is gathered is correct. So the thing I have in my head is like
Mhm.
gather context, make plans. So now I'm thinking, okay, if I want to take this and make a plan out of it, that's my next step.
Oh, so you wouldn't do it here. You would either send to chat in plan mode or copy your prompt and kind of put it somewhere you want.
Got it. So send to chat would be the thing, and then I could select that.
Yeah, you set it so at the top right it's in chat mode, so you can set it to plan mode.
Top right in
There's like
chat.
a separate button for that.
Got it. And then
There you go.
plan mode.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
cool.
go.
We chuck it at that, and we say, I'm just gonna YOLO it. Let's see. Womp womp. Nice
Hold
settings.
on. Maybe you just click Claude Code and then maybe pick Sonnet explicitly.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Just try that one. Yeah, see if that works.
There we go. That's probably gonna do it. We'll see. And then, so this is using my max plan. Is this picking up my Oh, okay. It is picking up
Your
my
log.
my MCPs. Yeah. Oh, look what I was just.
It should turn off the MCPs actually.
Interesting.
No, in this case it shouldn't use any MCPs because it's just using it as a vanilla stateless kind of setup.
Are you using the Claude Agent SDK for that one?
No, it's just the CLI. It's just probing the CLI in headless mode.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, nothing magical there. The agent SDK doesn't let you kind of use your max plan in the same way. It's like
Yeah,
a way to kind
I
of
haven't
work with it.
been exploring it too much. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so getting these plans out, I find is the most like important thing. And finding ways to kind of manage context, like the chat as well. Like I put a lot of work into that chat being very context efficient. And yeah, like context just hasn't been something that like has fallen off the wayside. There is like one more thing you can do actually with the app that is quite useful is benching models. So there's a benchmark built into the app,
Really?
and you can just run it. Yeah, and
That's kind of fun.
yeah, it doesn't take too long. I can show you
Pull
that
that.
quickly
Yeah,
actually.
we'll pull it back on screen here and get that. See if we can.
Yeah, let
do a
me
little
do that.
competition of these guys here. So yeah, homie's still thinking over here, unfortunately.
Oh, there you got it. Okay, so hold on. You can go ahead while it's thinking. You can open up the benchmark if you want.
Yeah,
You
sure.
just hit the settings on the top right, the little gear. Scroll down to benchmark on the left,
Benchmark.
and then you can pick the model you want to bench.
Oh, cool.
And you can just bench it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just I just pick it and bench it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got some prefab.
There you go.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and so what's cool too is once the bench runs, um, you can actually submit your scores online, and then it will put them on the repo prompt website and onto the leaderboard.
Yeah, is there what evals
So
are you using for this? Is this something that where we can set our own
this is all
evals?
custom made.
Nice.
Custom made evals. It's designed with a lot of the tooling that I built for parsing and verifying output. So it basically runs a set of 30 tests, five at a time in parallel, and from there you're able to get just a good assessment on how good the models are at dealing with context pressure, how good they are at dealing with file editing and instruction following. And Sonnet is just really, really good at that. And it works great. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see that one, I think, once it's so custom test cases in that good way to kind of get your head around what model is doing what. But my thought being considering this thing's been around for a while, as I recall. And I imagine there have been some features that, the thing that sort of jumps out to me about just being in the space, honestly, is things are changing so fast that if I develop a feature set, it's like, okay, next week is that feature set still going to be relevant? And I imagine if you're primarily orienting on context management, that's probably been a big challenge for you, I would imagine. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, like when I started it, like agents didn't exist at all.
Right.
And I built a lot of tools around getting models to edit code reliably without agents being possible. And it turns out that tooling is still valuable because like I can get models like GPT-5 Pro that actually, so if you run GPT-5 Pro on the API and you try to get it to edit code, you're going to have like a middling success rate because the way that GPT-5 Pro works is that it kind of spawns a lot of parallel instances of GPT-5.
Okay, yeah.
And then those will each call tools. And then they kind of get to the end and you get that kind of council-like result. But you can't, that result doesn't call tools. That result is just presented. So GPT-5 Pro is really good if you give it a bunch of threads that can call read tools, but edit tools, you're kind of editing with each of those threads, which aren't the like consensus smart model. So giving tools where the response can contain the edits makes it possible to kind of get the best edits out of a model like GPT-5 Pro. So in that case, it's still very useful. And I find that like you're able to kind of get edits also faster than if the model is kind of grepping around and then doing the edits. Like if you just give it the prompt, give it the task to edit, it works really well. But yeah, like generally, like a lot of what I've done now is open up a lot of the app's functionality to agents to kind of do this work. And I've just still consistently found that like, yes, while like, the tools are changing and while you can still prompt these tools very easily. Like the thing that's changed a lot is the accessibility barrier like has gone way down for like getting started with AI models to edit code. But like the skill ceiling is still high. And if you want to get better results and you don't want to kind of iterate all day, you want to get a lot of stuff done. Spending a little bit of time on context management and using these tools can do a lot. So
I totally agree. Yeah, it's like it's a difficult position to be in, but it's also I can imagine it sort of pays to be in the position of the person that's sort of building the augmentation tool because you get to be especially if it's an augmentation tool that you can dog food. This applies to those tools. Then yes, it'll be challenging when you were about to ship something and then Claude Code integrates it or whatever. But then it'll be okay. Claude Code did it in this way, but my augmentation application will allow me to take that workflow that they put in and then expand it, or at the very least, like dial it into the kinds of workflows that do make sense for me, which I think is a really like
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
powerful iteration loop to
I
be
think though
in.
that like I'm not like there, I'm not super competing with Claude Code or with like Codex or all these agents, because those agents are made to be like a chat box. You type stuff and stuff happens, right? And like I want to build on those tools to kind of build kind of a higher level experience of how to like automate some of this work done. And of course, like right now, there's a lot of manual stuff. There's the run result, which is cool. Um, yeah, and like you want to build on these tools as primitives, ideally, and it's like if I was building just another coding agent that is just one of many coding agents, like it's really hard to differentiate in that way, especially without VC funding and a lot of promotional budgets. But
Sure.
building a tool like this, like it's not for everyone for sure. Like it's not the kind of tool that everyone's going to turn to, and it is a tool that you need to kind of take the time to learn and put into your toolbox. Like I am working on accessibility and finding ways to kind of make that easier for people.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like it's something that like is resonating with a fair amount of people. It is working for them, and when the people do take the time to try this, like they consistently tell me like, wow, I'm getting like way better results doing this.
Yeah, I'm
So
actually noticing, or
it's,
yeah, so for me, what's jumping out to me here, I went back and looked at the eval, and then this is actually going to
mhm.
be a really good view for me because what I'm trying to kind of dial in right now on my config, it's like, okay, like I'm kind of over the MCP thing. Like they're all gigantic context hogs, and most of them are like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is useful in one specific context, but it's going to blow up my window anyway. So I may as well just
Yeah.
give it the CLI or whatever. So now what is occurring to me is like, okay, I can just I can bench different models against each other, but I could also bench different configs against each other because I can see, okay, we have these
Mhm.
define tasks. So if I add these MCPs during it, it might, these might flip green or these might
So actually,
not.
in this case, that I
Hmm.
don't think that like because this is just going to take the raw
Oh, because
model. You're not going to be able
yeah,
to bench the model with all of that set up. Like it tries to be as standardized as possible.
interesting.
I think there is value in building the bench in a way that kind of allows you to kind of stress test different kind of secondary
Hmm.
things. I think that's really useful, and it's something I'm looking into as well as make this bench kind of more tool oriented, because right now it's very like just response oriented.
Well,
Um,
yeah, yeah, and it's
but
like,
mhm.
yeah, well, I was just gonna, and it's like, I imagine that the original build of repo prompt, like evals were not, necessarily on the radar. But I can
Not at all.
imagine,
Yeah.
yeah. So and
Everything
then I can,
changes. Over
right.
time, you reprioritize. Like I've been working on this full time, so like every week's a new challenge working on new
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Well, and yeah, and that's sort
Yeah.
of the when it's like what you're trying to do is augment a set of tools that you use. Yes, it can be a scary
Hmm.
place because you're like, what if my feature gets shipped into whatever? But it can also be a really cool place because it's like, okay, sure, fine, whatever, ship whatever you want. How do I sort of stack on top of that and do cool, interesting, useful stuff
Hmm.
that I need to do now? Hey, it would be really useful if I could benchmark these models when as soon as they get released, kind of thing. Let me just implement that. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's a really cool kind of market position to be in, I think. At least as like, especially as like a solo
Yeah.
hacker kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just building for myself. Like I don't have like a board that is like
Hmm.
reviewing everything I'm doing. And yeah, I mean that's it. Like
Yeah, and your business model
that's the
is,
tour, I think. Yeah.
Just on this idea of like composability and trying to have all these different, you mentioned a lot of the tool improvements are what actually really jacks up the performance. Do you think that we're
Mhm.
headed for kind of a like a standardized world like we have with, for example, web apps, where there's like, for a while it was create React app that was like the number one, and then then it was Next.js, and then now there's like a couple of like really highly
Mhm.
optimized Next.js template apps. Um, it seems like we're kind of going in that direction with tools. Have you seen any of the kind of leaders in that area? I saw Context 7 earlier yesterday.
Mhm. Yeah.
That, for example, is like a really good way to have all these standardized libraries of different like supporting modules. And like when you want to implement like the latest Next.js, like Context 7 has all the docs, and so then your agents are a
Yeah.
lot more effective. It seems like that's kind of what you're doing here, right?
Well, so to an extent, like, so Context 7 is a tool where, like, if I'm like trying to code something up, and I'm targeting this set of tools, like I want the agent to be able to kind of reference a material that is helpful. But the way that I kind of think about, like, when I'm working with models is that, in fact, like, I wouldn't want Context 7 at that point in the pipeline, because I would want to kind of figure out what am I doing? What is the right way to do it? And then kind of include that in my initial prompt, and not have the model call the tool at planning time or thinking time. So that I have, like, really, like, when it's actually writing the code, or when it's thinking about the plan, there's as minimal, like, waste in the context window as possible. Like, because the problem with a tool like Context 7 is that the model will kind of poke around and be like, oh, actually, let me see what's the right way to do this. And then in doing that, it's burn a bunch of tokens, kind of getting to the what is the right result. And then when it comes down to thinking about the solution, it's already kind of midway or 3/4 of the way through its context window, right? And so finding right tools to kind of solve that, where you're in the context window and you kind of get the whole thing done, like, that can work well. Yes, the programmatic tool calling, discovering things, it is great, but it is the same issue, right? Like, and it actually has another issue that I don't love. So the Ruby prompt MCP, actually, like, I work hard to make it kind of pretty token efficient. But if you're kind of doing this where you're kind of programmatically discovering tools, well, for one, you have to waste tokens to discover the tools, but then you don't have them all up front in your context window. But then the thing is, not all of the tool definitions are there for the model. So then, as a whole, the server is kind of fragmented, and it doesn't have the full picture of what the server is and how it works. Because the tool definitions are, in a sense, like a prompt for the model to figure out how to use them.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what is one of the benefits of using them over a CLI, is that they don't have to call, like, help and have a bunch of failed commands and, like, finally get to the right outcome. So, like, the big thing that I've observed with all the tool builders in the space is that they're all kind of just optimizing for the convenience of a user prompting a query and getting a result. And they're finding ways to kind of make that more efficient, but, like, they're not finding ways to kind of make the most out of the models they're building. And for me, it requires, like, careful consideration of each context window. Like, what is each part of the task chain that you're doing, between discovery, planning, and execution. And I've just really found, like, that is the way to get the best results, and so I really optimize for that. At some point, maybe, like, for most tasks, the models are just so smart and so optimized that, like, it doesn't matter if they're 50% less intelligent by doing it this way, because they're just so smart that there's no task you can give them that will kind of challenge that. And that probably is coming at some point. But for the time being, like, the state-of-the-art models are very fickle with their context windows, and you got to kind of be careful if you want the best results. So.
Yeah, no, I think because, like, even though there's a new so, like, them doing things like making the code execution tool and the tool search tool, there are two ways to look at it. Either, like, my feature set here is obsolete, or it's like, okay, now I have a new entry point, because the primary sort of user-facing thing that I know there's going to be two things on screen. There's going to be a Claude code, and there's going to be a repo prompt, and sometimes it's only going to be one. So how can I make a repo prompt that can fit in with the Claude code that has the search tool and the execution tool? And that coming down to, like, okay, what that tool is trying to write code. What I can do is use the secondary entry point that I have here to do things that aren't having that tool write code. And then from there, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what's useful to do at that entry point that I can render over in a GUI is like a good way to
exactly.
Problem, I think.
And also bridge the tools that you're using. Like, Claude is never going to integrate with GPT-5. It's never going to integrate with, like, a way to kind of clipboard out into AI Studio or Grok. You're not going to be able to get work out of those views if you're only using this. So, like, I still find, like, for me right now, like, I always turn to the GPT-5 models for architecture, and like, if I have, like, complicated engineering challenges, like, it's just GPT models are just better at reasoning about complicated algos. But Claude is really good at being an engineer, debugging, calling tools, and using the terminal. So giving it a way to kind of work with that other model and giving it a way to kind of do it efficiently and make it ergonomic for the model, it's important as well. So sitting in the middle there is an interesting place to be. And yeah, like things change every single week. And there was a while where I was like, every week I was like, okay, no, what's this new thing and how's it going to impact me? What's going to happen? But like at this point, I'm kind of just, I'm still using my own tool. I still find it useful. And a lot of people in my Discord community do, and people message me all the time how much they find it useful. So I'm like, okay, well, if all these people are using it and I'm still using it, then I'm just going to keep building it. And so I just, there's no shortage of ways to kind of make it more accessible and do more with it, because this context window problem just has not gone away, and I don't think it will in a while. So as long as that's true, then there's room to build tools in that space.
Exactly. And well, at the end of the day, even if you run out of runway there, which I doubt will be a thing that happens anytime soon, as long as you have people using your, in your community, using your tool, telling you what they want, like end of the day, as long as you're making them happy, then that's like, that's what matters essentially.
Yeah. And it's been doing it right. So,
I'm super glad to hear it, and yeah, perhaps soon you will find me pestering you features because I want to give it the old college try.
Yeah, give it a go, and yeah. And I was just talking to a designer today, and I was showing him through it, and I think there's a lot to be done around just like reorganizing some of the onboarding and the ideas there, just presenting them a little differently, I think, to kind of make it click for people. So there's a lot to still improve on that. Yeah.
Totally.
So selfish last question. We're also building a dev tool tribe, which is focused on like kind of dissecting the agent's reasoning process. And that's something that like we've been working on for a while. Personally, X and I both have been deeply exploring how to do this. And we think we've got a pretty cool tool that we put together. How did you actually get this in front of the right people so that you could start getting useful product feedback? That's definitely the hardest part.
So that is the hardest part. And I think like the thing that I kind of got lucky with is that I started building this a long time ago. I started building this well before a lot of people started building tools in this space. And so I just went to Reddit, and a lot of people, like at the time when I was starting this, like literally the only way you can get AI to write code was like Cursor. That was like the only tool that was around that would edit code, and it didn't do a good job back then. It was not a good tool back then. So there was a lot of room for better workflows and things that can do a better job. And like, one wedge I found was like at the beginning, like, oh, I want to use the full context window of Claude. Like Cursor's giving me 32 KA tokens, which is nothing. So just presenting it to people on Reddit was initially like a good thing. Then it's just talking to people who like are content creators, like building stuff on YouTube, like showing off their workflows on YouTube. Like I went on Ray Fernando's show initially, who now I have a podcast with. And I did some early videos with him. That found some audience there, and then like eventually, like just getting it in front of people, getting that initial feedback, it just kind of snowballed. And I think the thing that also helped a lot initially was just making it free in beta, just like lowering the friction and trying it out. I had like a test flight, and it was pretty straightforward to sign up for. So just low friction to set up and run, and then a good loop, and building a community early is super helpful. To kind of collect, gather people around and get their feedback. Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, my guess would be what if I had to guess subreddits, one is probably local llama, one is probably our ChatGPT or ChatGPT hackers, if anybody knows that one, and then there's probably an R Claude.
There was a Claude, R Claude was a good one for me.
Yeah.
There was ChatGPT coders, I think, that was like, or ChatGPT coding or something that was there at the beginning. So local llama is a good one, but the people there are kind of how would I put this? Like they're very like open source zealots.
Yeah.
And so they don't take too kindly to anything that is like a product if it's not an open source repo.
Yeah.
So just a forward on that one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and trial and error there, I think, is important in finding this, because you want to go where the people are, where aligned values wise with what your product is doing, and then also like that people are you got to go find the collections of like people who are going to be nerdy enough about this to really like dig in on something weird on it, I think, which is blessing and a curse, right? Because there's not a lot of them and they're kind of hard to find. But when you do find them, the feedback they can provide is super valuable, in my experience at least.
For sure. Oh, and there's one more thing is just making content. Build your own content distribution. Like I post a lot of videos. People ask me for videos on like how to use this thing. Like it's a complicated app, but I make videos tutorials on it. Like I've gotten better at the tutorials. I'm still like could be better at them. But just clear content videos showing like as quickly as possible, but like being efficient with it. Like what does this do? Why should I care about it? Like, you know, yeah. And then X is a good distribution channel. There's a lot of really technical people on X. And just talking about your thing, it works. Like the algo likes that. If you get engagement with stuff that you are, repeatedly talking about, it's very helpful.
Well, no, and that's the hope behind the algo, right? Is that it'll find the things that you keep yapping about. So just keep yapping about it. You'll eventually be
exactly, yeah.